Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
And this is Jake.
And this is Fleric.
Mac, this is your... Oh, no, wait, he's gone. Mac has been pulled away for work, I guess. He's driving to, like, Sioux City or something. I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Have we been prepping for an hour and this is the first time I noticed?
Yeah,
I think so.
It certainly took me by surprise when he didn't chime in at the end there, so... Maybe he's just on mute and has forgotten about us, but either way, it seems like Mac is gone for this episode for whatever reason. Probably just neglect and he forgot about us.
Yeah, I bet it's personal and not professional.
Definitely. So we're going to be just riding with the three of us for our preview of the upcoming, fingers crossed, upcoming Aki Basho. We are recording this with 4 days prior to the Basho, so you'll be listening to this 3 days before the Basho, which is right before we actually have any confirmations on if anybody's going to be pulling out, which is pretty important because it sounds like there might be some big names pulling out of this tournament, but we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Big Rickshy and big names.
Yes, literally.
So you know Enho is safe if we're talking big Rickshy.
At least according to the news.
Yeah.
So as was pretty obvious to anybody who enjoys our show, so my wife Katie, we didn't really put out a whole lot of content in the last month since the end of the last Basho, but as promised on a previous episode, our excuses were good. We have a sad reason and a happy reason that we have been kind of behind on everything. First off, the sad reason, my dog Thor actually passed away a couple weeks ago. He was 8 years old and he's been with us the whole time that we've been a group of friends, and everybody that knows me knows how big a deal that is. And I know all everybody on the podcast here, everybody, he was a member of our family. It's a really big deal. And honestly, I don't think I did anything for like a full week. And then I started doing like the bare minimum to be a human being anymore. And yeah, we're finally starting to put our lives back together. But man, that was a big blow. It was cancer and it struck pretty suddenly. It was very hard for us. But I don't know. I think the biggest closure I've gotten so far is I already have his collar design tattooed on my forearm. And the tattoo came out great. So I'm super proud of that. But yeah, I mean, you guys have been, you guys knew Thor his whole life. He was, I mean, I say this like with as little bias as I can, but the best dog.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love Piper. Piper's fantastic. Thor's a better dog than Piper.
He was every single stereotype of like a good dog. He was a golden retriever, super friendly, incredibly well behaved. Like I don't know. We lucked out massively when we got him, and he was the best. He was the best of us, and the world was not good enough for him.
Yeah, he loved everybody, and he showed it. He was an almost 100-pound lap dog, but nobody really cared because everybody loved him and wanted his cuddles. And he was the fiercest lover of tennis balls that I have ever known.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he would play 3-ball. That was his favorite game. You throw a ball and he'll go chase it, but then he won't put it down until you have another ball that you got to throw. And then he'll start like stockpiling in such a way that you need 3 balls in order to keep him rotated and actually chasing. But yeah, it was our favorite game to play in the yard.
Yeah, and for such a large golden retriever, had the girliest bark whenever he was outside and wanted attention.
Yeah, he never barked to come in. He only barked to make you come out to throw the ball. And he had this, like, even when he was little, he had this like really high pitched bark. But as he went on, it got kind of shriller because he knew that would get more of a reaction and get mom or dad to come outside and throw the 3 balls for him.
Yeah. No, he will definitely be missed. He, like you said, he was the best boy.
Yeah, I miss him. I miss him terribly. But not to be a total bummer here, we do have, like I said, a very happy reason that we've been kind of lazy. Ryan, why don't you tell us about that one?
Yeah, so I've been fairly preoccupied, especially over the past week, which is ironic because that's when we've put out our last two bonus episodes. But that's because the month prior to that, I had been prepping for my very pregnant wife at the time to give birth. And then last Tuesday, we finally gave birth to, well, not we, she did. I was there, I helped. Gave birth to our baby girl, Riley. And as good as a dog as Thor is, that's how good of a baby Riley has been so far. This is our first one, and I really don't have a whole lot of experience with newborns. I hear they cry a lot. Ours doesn't. Like, she sleeps, and then when she wakes up, she starts sucking on her hands and like mouthing like she wants to suck on a boob. So we give her a boob, and then she's happy and content and goes back to sleep. There's really no issues we're having with this child. She is the love of my life, the most adorable little child you will ever see, and I promise to post far more pictures than anybody would ever want to see of a baby on our Twitter feed.
Yeah, now that we're kind of coming to terms with both of these stories, our Instagram is going to blow up. I swear to you. We got pictures abound, but yeah, for both of them, we just wanted to keep them private and talk about it when we were ready to talk about it. And I promise the cute pictures will be coming in a tsunami.
Oh, yes, definitely. As soon as this episode is posted, there's going to be tons of pictures of baby Riley because I can't help myself.
As well, you shouldn't try to help yourself. just get them out there. I met baby Riley for all of like a half an hour the other day. No, I think we stayed for more like an hour.
Yeah.
Kind of irresponsible in our COVID times, but we did stick around long enough to experience all like 10 minutes of Riley's non-eating, non-sleeping time of the day.
Yeah.
And oh my God, she just sitting in our lap, staring at us and just kind of like burbling, like no crying, no fussing, just
nope,
hanging out. And yeah, truly, like you said, the Thor of babies.
Yeah, she is super chill and could not ask for a better first week of a child's life.
Yeah, you are going to be absolutely spoiled for if you have any other kids that are like normal.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I'm completely prepared for the worst on the next ones. There's no way you could strike gold like this twice. But enough of that personal crap out of the way. Nobody actually comes to listen to us babble on about our lives. We gotta talk about the Aki Basho, but before that, as always, we have to look back at the previous Basho, the July tournament. So we will hand it over to our field correspondent B and get his review or recap of the July tournament.
Hey guys, B here with your Tokyo Goya 2020 recap. So help me out here. I'm trying to see the book into the trees because this was a good tournament, but it really felt like it was subject to the infamous plans change. That Karen Fuji storyline, all right, that's a once-in-a-lifetime story, right? It's got all the makings of a great build. It was based in real life. It's enhanced by kayfabe. The comeback, the crying, the Yusho, the final shot of him looking into the rafters at his own portrait. Excellent. Not denying that. But if that's what we were doing, why did it come right when everyone thought the Asanoyama Yokozuna arc was starting? That whole beginning of the tournament, you had Asanoyama with a strong performance, everyone's putting him over big, and then just not? Like, did I get worked? The setup for the Young Guns Old Guard playoff turned into nothing. Hakuho's dropout turned into nothing. Terutsuyoshi getting the leg pick finisher over? Fine. Him getting it over on Asanoyama seems unnecessary, but fine. And then him getting it buried and no-sold 2 matches later, what was the point? I assumed that all the former high rankers like Tochi and Takayasu and Tamawashi getting winning records was to move them back up the chart so Asanoyama could run through them G1 climax style for his promotion win, but now he still needs 2 in a row, and I assumed Hakuho would be the final boss, but the sheets say he might not even be in the next tournament, so I don't know. Regardless, it was what a lot of these pay-per-views seem to have become. which is a good show that could have been great if it weren't for a little bit too much overbooking. But maybe I'm wrong. Trust the process, right? I'll see you guys in September. Oh, and P.S. Takayasu, Kataban, Kachikoshi, and Bounce. Who called Takagoedo like 3 months ago? I will be expecting my Crystal Ball Award on the year-end show. Thank you very much.
B, you can't just add categories to the year-end award show. There is no Crystal Ball Award for predicting anything. So, because you're making demands like that of us, I don't take kindly to that. I think we're going to have to dock your pay, which I believe means you owe us money at this point, because you can't really. So. Yeah, you can't really dock somebody who you're not paying. So just like send us a crisp 20 in the mail, and we'll let you keep your job.
Yeah, I think we might have created a new category for such a thing, but I feel like that would go to right to B's head. So that's not going to happen.
No, not at all.
I do think my favorite part of that, favorite part of receiving that voicemail was seeing the transcription that Google puts together for us. Apparently, Google hears Asanoyama as awesome Yamaka, which is how I shall be herefore referring to Asanoyama as.
Yeah.
And I also learned how to spell Yamaka today, or Yarmulke.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's talk about our Akibasho. And as we are in our COVID times, it's going to look a little bit different. Well, actually, it's going to look pretty much the same as the July tournament. They have announced that there's going to be just the 2,500 fans in attendance. I believe all other things that they put into place to prevent the spread of COVID is going to be the same as it was in July in the Aki tournament. They have also put a ban on Geico, which is the training between Heiyas. I know specifically Kakuryu was upset about this fact, and I think most Rikishi are.
Yeah, Kakuryu is the head of the Rikishi Kai, or the Rikishi union for the most part. Okay. And so he, as representative, he tried to talk, say, hey, people want to train with other Heiyas and stuff. So I think he's trying to make a case for after the Akibasho, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. His Heiya also combined for a total of 6 entire Makuuchi wins last tournament. So,
oh man,
he didn't get any, and Kiribayama got 6. I think they're the only 2 in the top division from that stable. But I can understand why he personally would be upset. But Rikishi in general. Ryan's about to get to a story why I think this is probably the right decision, but I can understand it being frustrating.
Yeah, at least from a fan's perspective, it didn't really adversely affect the matches that we saw. Now, maybe somebody like Bruce over at Tachiai or some of the other people at Tachiai who have a better eye for the technical aspects of sumo wrestling, maybe they noticed that the sumo wasn't quite up to snuff due to this lack of training. But from a fan perspective, the last basho is one of the more entertaining basho we've seen in a while. So the lack of Geico really doesn't hurt my feelings too much.
Yeah, I think I thought the quality of matches was pretty solid too. And I think honestly, I think I mentioned it before, I was like on the fence because we didn't know how people were training. We thought it might be subpar training, but I think that they've definitely got training in. And also I think the fact that they had a basho the rest just helped so much.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, I wonder if those two effects just completely canceled each other out exactly or something.
Could be.
But to me, I like we're certainly no experts on technique, but we're not complete novices either. So like to me, it didn't seem like dramatically different, We were more engrossed in the storylines than in the individual matches, as is normally the case. Mm-hmm. We were more engrossed by like who's going to win, not necessarily how many thrust down or slip down matches there were overall. So I don't know. I'm hopeful. This Geico ban doesn't seem like a complete deal breaker to me, at least.
Yeah. I think there were 6 Kyujo in the last tournament, which is probably a little bit higher than you would usually see. So I'm curious if kind of like the lack of training again for another cycle will lead to a higher amount of injuries, as people might not necessarily be in sumo shape. So we'll see if that trend kind of continues, but I think that might have been the only effect from the lack of training. But as Jake mentioned, there is a pretty good reason they're not allowing Geico, and I think the JSA is going to be getting a pat themselves on the back for not allowing it, because there was a Rikishi, unknown at this time what Rikishi and what Heya, that was diagnosed with COVID just on September 5th. And so since that Rikishi had been in close proximity to all the other Rikishi and the Oyakata in that Heya, they were all tested, and there were several more COVID cases amongst those guys. Because not all test results are known at this time, the JSA is not going to release any details until all those results are known, just so that there's not any misconstrued conclusions that come from incomplete data. So they're just going to hold off on all the details until all the data is known. What we do know is that there are some Rikishi with symptomatic cases and some non-symptomatic or asymptomatic cases, but it doesn't sound like anybody has any severe symptoms.
That's good.
Yeah, but this is just days before the tournament starts, and so that poses a very large problem for the JSA. There's an article on the Tachiai blog talking about this issue, and they kind of see three possibilities for this basho. The first one, cancel the basho, which is awful and bad because this is awfully short time frame to have to simulate another basho, and I don't want to do that.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They could move ahead with the tournament and just have that entire Heya be Kyujo. Just say, hey, everybody here's been exposed. It's fairly close proximity to start of the basho. We're not going to take any risks of this running throughout the entire Rikishi core and just shut down that Heya for the basho. Or they could move ahead with the tournament and have only those Rikishi that have tested positive for COVID be Kyujo. And that one was the one that Tachiai actually seemed to have least
Really?
think that one would happen.
Interesting.
So we don't know what Heya it is, but it sounds like from the rumor mills that it's a large Heya. So there could be some Sekitori involved in this. So hopefully we get some news on this fairly soon, and hopefully we are not canceling the entirety of this basho. Because like I said, might be too late notice for us to simulate an entire basho. And as we mentioned, I have a child now.
Yeah.
That takes
We
a
do have it a
time.
lot more automated than when we did it the first time.
Yeah,
that's true.
to be fair.
Yeah. And also, it's definitely bad for us, but for them setting up a basho, that's very late notice to also cancel that.
Yeah,
because Dohyo is built and everything. The priests are going to go bless it anytime now.
Mm-hmm. And you know that you can't build a dohyo and have it not draw blood. Like, that's sacrilege.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It should be. It would be interesting. Did they mention why they thought the positive ones staying out was the least likely? Did Tachiai mention that?
No, I'm not sure. My guess is just because how cautious they are just being with it overall. But yeah, they didn't really give any explanation. They just said, or the quite unlikely proceeding as planned with only Rikishi who test positive declared Kyujo.
I would hope that that's because you don't necessarily test positive the instant that you're infected. So that's why I would hope option 2, have that entire Heya go, would make more sense. Certainly from a public health standpoint, option 2 of just having that entire Heya go out, that would make more sense. But I don't know. It depends on how badly they want some of those guys to go on and, move ahead like everything's normal kind of a situation.
Yeah, it's a huge amount. I wonder if you do some like maybe Kyujo the first week in kind of while self-isolating while doing tests. And then I don't know. And then maybe if they are just gone the entire time, you just like have them drop normal ranks or maybe half ranks than they normally would.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I think the best case scenario is move ahead with the tournament and just have that entire Heya be Kyujo. Don't take any risks. Maybe, like you said, Fleric, let them come in a week after the tournament after several negative tests for everybody. But that does raise a question. What do you do? Say it's like the Oitekaze stable, which has quite a few people and quite a few Sekitori like Daisho and Endo. And let's say Daisho did not test positive for COVID, but because he was in Oitekaze, he is going to be held out of this tournament. Do we give Daisho like a freeze on his Sekiwake rank, or are we
That's
just
a
like,
good question.
sorry, bub, you're 0-15 down to Maegashira 10 for you. Doesn't matter why, you weren't here.
Yeah, because Daisho isn't on the Ozeki run. I guess he has kind of a start of one.
I mean, he
But
was 11-4 at Komosubi, so if
Oh yeah,
he
for
could,
sure.
he could be.
But it's not the precipice of one. Yeah.
No, he needs 2 more basho. Yeah, he needs 2 more.
Yeah. There's a 15-0 Yusho would not necessarily get him an Ozeki slot from right here.
Right.
Mhm.
But 11-0 from the Sanyaku for sure. 11-4 from the Sanyaku. He's for sure like on step 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I would really hope if I was in charge, the way that I would be most likely to go is I would say put that entire Heia Kyujo, but freeze them, like freeze their rank. Like come in next tournament at the exact same rank, or like maybe within a half rank or something, just to make the Bansuke make sense. But I don't think it would be fair to punish them with an 0-15, especially for something that's potentially completely outside their control.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be
yeah.
shocked if they punished them by rank anyways. But I would hope that the association doesn't punish them too severely, just for the actions of potentially only one person in the Heia.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a very sticky situation because I don't know if like they do like take time off. Granted, they were going to be sick and recovering, but then they might have like a whole basho recovery at the same rank, which is going to be pretty unfair the next time they come into sumo. So it would be very hard to do it fairly. But I agree with you. They should not be really punished.
It just sucks so much
something.
because like this is something that literally happens once every 100 years, give or take.
Yeah.
Based on recent history here. And sumo is so stratified that anything out of the ordinary is a catastrophe. So like if they make any special rules or if they give any exceptions or something like that,
Mhm.
it's just like flushing the whole tradition down the toilet, So like,
And they hate that.
I don't think that, but I understand and have enough understanding of the Sumo Association to know that they think that.
Yeah, it'll be tough. I think it would be a very tough position. I think this decision is going to be very tough for the Kyokai or the Sumo Association. So
I just don't want to lose any more
interesting.
wrestlers.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that there too. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how it goes.
So I think what I want to see most is like I said, the Heia pulled out and then a freeze on rank. And I think that's the most likely scenario. Fleric, what do you think is the most likely scenario coming from all of these positive cases?
I think the whole Heia, I don't know. I think there's a possibility of only positive people. I don't have nearly as much trust, I guess, in the Sumo Association. So I think that might be pretty likely. But I think what I would like to see is, like you said, the entire Heia to go Kyujo. And also, I don't think they're going to freeze all the ranks. I think they might do half ranks or something. That's kind of where I'm at.
God, I hope not, just for the predicting the next Bansuke.
Yeah, I know.
Having a whole bunch of 0-15s compared to normally, like it's not uncommon for us to have 1 or 2, right? But like,
Oh yeah.
that would suck.
Yeah.
Don't they know you're busy now? They can't change the Bansuke format now.
No,
Think
kidding.
about Riley.
She needs her daddy. All right. Let's move on and talk about, well, I was going to say let's talk about actual sumo, but we're going to be talking about a couple of people we don't actually expect to be doing any sumo in Aki, whether it's canceled or not, or their Heia is declared Kyujo or not. And that is, once again, both of our Yokozuna.
Hooray.
Yeah. So we have Hakuho, who between this basho and the July basho where he pulled out, he had endoscopic surgery on both of his knees. He had it on the right knee for the injury that he got during the July tournament, kind of confirming that it was a legit injury. I know some people were thinking like, oh, Hakuho, he's lost 2 in a row. He's not going to win the Yusho now. He's just pulling out to save face.
That stupid thing. I strongly disagree with that. I hated that rumor.
Unless Hakuho is super committed to proving everybody that he was legit injured, that he would have surgery just to prove people wrong, which
he just called up Dr. Takayasu and said, "Hey, let's let's put like a little bit more into my calves, like shape up my butt a little bit, we'll call it endoscopic surgery on my knee or some shit like that."
I feel like there's a joke there because there's also a wrestler named Endo, that there's material here. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know there's material here.
We'll workshop it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he had endoscopic surgery on his left knee to fix an old injury. And so we don't have any confirmation at this point. Like I said, we're recording this like a day before we'll get confirmation on these things. But it sounds like Hakuho has really not been practicing sumo. I think this weekend there was a quote from Miyagino Oyakata who said that Hakuho was kind of like still in pain, and if he was in pain the next day, he would be pulling out of the tournament. I haven't seen any updates on that story since, but I imagine we would just get that once the days 1 and 2 Torikumi have been posted and we find out, okay, who's not on the schedule of matches, because then we'll know who handed in their Kyujo papers or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah. Or facts.
Yeah. So that's the story with Hakuho. It sounds like he's had surgery, but his fellow Yokozuna Kakuryu, who pulled out after the first day of the tournament, and if we look at Kakuryu's past tournaments, he's only completed one basho out of his last 5, and it sounds like it's going to be one basho out of his last 6. Because he had that elbow injury. He has not been practicing, and he says his body is not back to what it was due to the rest he took for that elbow injury. He said he's trying to get his body back in shape, but has said that if he shows up, he should also have good results, which makes me think that he doesn't think he's going to have good results. And then just on Tuesday, had another quote from him saying, "My body isn't quite ready. I'll make a decision about whether to participate in the basho by tomorrow," which really makes me think no Kakuryu for the Aki basho as well.
Also, tomorrow is done now, so shame on you, Kakuryu, for not telling us.
Yeah.
Ryan, your phrasing on that kind of threw me for a loop there. You said Hakuho, yeah, bad news. But his fellow Yokozuna Kakuryu also sucks.
Well, I think I say it like that because Kakuryu has been gone more consistently recently.
Okay.
I mean, we know Hakuho. He's every other tournament at this point. But, and I'm kind of pulling this from Mr. J-Wag's most recent video about Yokozuna Kyujo rates and all that stuff. But Kakuryu has been Kyujo far more percentage-wise of his Yokozuna career than Hakuho has. Like 40% Kyujo rate for Kakuryu versus like 13 or 17% for Hakuho.
Yeah, Hakuho went 2007 to 2015 with like no Kyujos, and every single one of those was either a first or second place finish. Yeah. So yeah, percentage-wise, he definitely screws up a lot of stuff.
But I think Kakuryu is getting to that point where you have to start really thinking about retirement for him. I mean, they are both 35, which is pretty old for a Rikishi. Some do make it further than that, but I mean, Hanakaze's still out there and dude's 50. But for Yokozuna, if he misses his 5th tournament in the space of a year, I think there's a lot more pressure on him to go Intai if he can't get his body right than there is at Hakuho at this point. So that's why I kind of make it a more dire situation for Kakuryu than I do for Hakuho. And we put out our bold predictions over the weekend, and a lot of people predicted Kakuryu Kyujo because it wasn't quite as sure at that time. But then a lot of people also doubled up on that and also said Intai for Kakuryu. So I think there's just a lot more public pressure and probably private pressure on Kakuryu to perform well, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be doing that this tournament.
I actually won't be surprised maybe Kakuryu in Intai or retirement.
I honestly think it's coming before the end of the year.
Yeah, I think I just saw some quote from Kitamiyama, and like he was kind of talking some article about his sumo, and like a lot of stuff he was just mentioning is like, yeah, I just been kind of spending some time with my kids. I'm putting the 3 kids to bed and kind of hanging out with the TV and watching TV and hanging out with my family. And it sounds like that's where he spent a lot of his time between bashos. Well, according to that article, doing that and trying to get healthy. So I think he's I think he's kind of just waiting on his elbow. I think he has faith he can get better. I think that's kind of what his big litmus test is, like whether or not he believes he can get healthy again. And so I think
Kisei no Sato believed he was going to get healthy too.
Yeah, but he got to a point where it didn't come to the case, and I think he felt the pressure of people. I think he felt the pressure of doing well more so than maybe Kakuryu does, because he has such a body of work as a Yokozuna, doing pretty well in the Hakuho times. But I don't know. I think that how his elbow heals between bashos is going to be a kind of big telling. Well, granted, we don't know, but I think if it's like not going to be good, I think he's going. Well, I had a good run, and probably hang up the Suna rope.
Sick vocab work.
Hell yeah.
So Jake, what are you thinking for Yokozuna participation in this tournament? Either, neither, both? I'm pretty sure I know which way you're leaning on this.
Yeah, let me answer this question in one word so I can move on to a more interesting question. Neither one. But the more interesting question... Shit. The more interesting question is, hey, Jake, what do you think about the new Dune trailer that just dropped today that I saw on
Did
Reddit?
you watch it?
Oh my God.
I was going to mention it to you, but then I was like, oh, wait, you don't watch trailers. So
Yeah, but I couldn't help myself. I watched a little bit of it. I know what happens at the end of the trailer, but I don't want to watch the end of the trailer. Regardless, though, I am reciting this to myself for the rest of the evening, and I promise I'll move on back to Sumo after this. But I am reciting to myself as a mantra that I must not hype. Hype is the mind killer. Hype is the little death that brings total obliteration. I'll go on and do this in the background, Ryan. You can go on to the Sumo thing, but I just need a moment to collect myself. And I promise I won't watch any more movie trailers while we're trying to record.
Yeah, that movie trailer was great. I didn't know some of the casting. Apparently, they got that guy from Stargate and what's the other one? Mary MJ from the Spider-Man movies. So
yeah, like cool. Every single actor in this is a big name. I don't understand. Every actor who's ever worked in Hollywood is apparently in this movie, and I'm all here for it, including Batista.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. He's like an evil dude. I started a car. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait.
I mean, if Dune was a bad movie and a bad TV miniseries the first couple of times, it's just going to be a bad movie now. Besides, it's a bad book too, so I don't know why you guys are so excited. Let's talk about the Ozeki.
What the hell, dude?
Let's can we take a vote to kick Ryan off the podcast?
Technically, Flaric, you and I are a majority right now.
We are.
Also, I'm pretty sure Mac would have your guys' back in this conversation as well.
100%.
No, it's just always something that's gotten a lot of hype, and I've never watched it or read the books. And so because I'm not involved in the hype, I have a grudge against it just because other people like something I know nothing about. And so obviously it has to be bad. No, I'm probably going to watch the movie, and I've been reading a lot more recently, so I'll probably fit the books into my reading schedule at some point and probably just be just as excited as you guys. But right now, I mean, it's obviously complete and utter crap, and it's overhyped. And
I will say that obviously you were being sarcastic about the book being bad because it's like
I'm sure the book is fantastic.
But the movie, I have never actually finished the miniseries. I started it once, but I will actually die on the hill that the movie was fun. It wasn't necessarily faithful to the book, but it was very fun, and it was weird as hell because it was David Lynch. And I love that movie, but it definitely, you kind of have to look at it as like a separate entity from the book.
Yeah. I definitely love the miniseries, but it's definitely a 4.5 hour epic that you just have to kind of.
It's not let's sit down to watch a movie this evening. It's like, here's your weekend.
But see, in college, when I was roommates with Flaric, so that's exactly what we did. I'm pretty sure there was just like one evening / very early morning where we just sat down and watched the entire Dune miniseries, and I was like falling asleep throughout the entire thing. It was old. I didn't understand anything that was going on. So I think that's the main reason why I hate Dune.
It wasn't past 8 p.m. It was past your bedtime. That's right.
It was very much past my bedtime. And as we all know, Flaric in college did not have a bedtime that was sooner than 7 a.m.
Agreed. That's one of the best I was gonna say sumo things happening, but it's yes. There's the most creative times happen at nighttime, and that's when you can kind of watch live sumo too, and esports. So I stick by it.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on that, Ryan, I am not shocked that you didn't like it because the book, like most of the book, takes place in characters' heads. Most of the book is people like planning stuff and like scheming and all that, like within their own heads. So it's like basically impossible to adapt into film. So
And yet you're
like,
excited for this new adaptation.
this time it will be different. Um, no, honestly, even if it's like crazy, off the wall, ridiculous, not very faithful, I don't care. It's amazing source material that I think is going to be fun either way. And with 2020 CGI, I'm all for it. I'm 100% in.
All right, we've been talking about Dune for at least 5 minutes, and that's at least 4 minutes and 59 seconds too long. So let's move on to Sumo, and let's talk about our Ozeki. And since it looks like we're facing the prospect of no Yokozuna, the most pressure is going to fall on the shoulders of these Ozeki to perform. And it sounds like Asanoyama was pretty down on himself after the last tournament because he was not able to secure the Yusho. After both Yokozuna pulled out of the tournament and also his fellow Ozeki Takayasu, he was the top-ranked guy remaining. He wanted to get that Yusho as the top-ranked guy and was not able to avoid the Ashitori from Teritsu Yoshi. And he's also doing it because his Oyakata, Takasago Oyakata, is retiring in December and wants to give him a farewell gift, and he only has 2 Yusho left. So do you guys, we'll talk with Flaric, do you think this pressure that Asanoyama is putting on himself is going to be too much for him to rise to the occasion and compete for the Yusho this tournament?
Excuse me, I need to butt in. Do you mean Awesome Yamaka?
Yeah, who are you talking about?
Ozeki Awesome Yamaka.
Ah, okay. I know who you're talking about now.
All right.
But no, I guess whether or not the extra pressure that he's going to put on himself is going to let him be in the Yusho race.
Whether it'll be too much. He's putting too much pressure on himself, and he's going to crumble under that pressure and not be in the Yusho race.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Kiseno Sato, like forever string of Jin Yushos kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I could see it. There's definitely hints of Kiseno Sato and Takayasu, and he's definitely getting like way hyped up lately. Where I think everyone's kind of picked him to be the next Yokozuna, and so he really feels like he has to kind of like live up to that and become the next Japanese Yokozuna. So I can kind of see it. Like it could maybe happen, but I don't know. I think he's definitely going to be in the Jin Yusho race. Whether or not, I think regardless, he's going to stay in the race, and whether or not he can like pull through it, I don't know. I think he can do it. I think he has the best shot of all the people there, especially with the no Yokozuna. So a strong maybe. I think so.
I think I tend to agree with that viewpoint. I think this is at minimum a Jun Yusho tournament for Asanoyama. Because, I mean, the Yokozuna did pull out of the last tournament. Hakuho wasn't until late, but it's not like Asanoyama had fallen behind Hakuho's 10-0 start. Asanoyama started off like 9-0 himself. So I don't think that pressure really got to him until like day 14, 15, or days 13, 14, 15, where he picked up 2 losses out of 3. So I think he will do good enough in the first 12 days to get himself in position for the Yusho. And it just depends on, and I think this is a guy that learns quickly from his mistakes and is able to change his game. So I think he's going to learn from his late losses to Teruno Fuji and Teritsu Yoshi. And, you know, I'm going to say bold thing to say here. I think he's the favorite to win the Yusho. But I'm also saying I don't think that this pressure is going to be too much for him. I think he's already shown that he can kind of rise above his performance over the past 3 basho. He's done one more win over the past 3 basho. I see no reason for that to stop, especially if he's going to be the top ranked guy. So I don't think this pressure will be too much for him. And like I said, minimum Jun Yusho for Asanoya. Awesome Yamaka.
Awesome Yamaka, yes. Yeah, I think I think it's telling that he's. I also consider him the favorite. Like he's the favorite, but he didn't win the last U show. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of telling that how we feel about how he's going to do.
Yeah, Ryan, you guys both said everything that I wanted to say. The only issue I have is that Terutsuyoshi is still in the Joy here. So
That's going to be a fun rematch. I'm looking forward to that rematch.
There's two possibilities. One, Asanoyama like plays it super cautious because he's worried about something like that happening again. You know, getting that leg pick and just kind of embarrassing loss. The alternative is he's mad and he charges in and it happens again. And even though I think I agree with you, Asanoyama is probably the favorite, and I kind of like that he's the favorite. I want him to win. If it happened again the exact same way, I would not. The poetic irony would not be lost on me. I would love that.
That would be amazing. I would love that he like, just like mind games himself. It's like surely he won't go for it again. So I'm just gonna go for a really hard Tachi. But then he just goes for the Ashitori like leg grab thing again and just loses. That would be fantastic.
Flat on his ass.
I think he's going to be. I mean, I don't think it's too hard to block an Ashitori. I think it's more just charge in, put your arm in the correct spot, block that crap. I don't think it's like, all right, I've got to stand in place, wait for him to come to me and see what he's going to do and then react. And then just Terutsuyoshi just bulldozes him out of the ring.
But what if he mind games him and grabs that arm he put in the right place and just pulls him down like a
Terutsuyoshi is always 3 steps ahead of Asanoyama.
Exactly. So you better just do a very fast Tachi and not worry about that at all.
It's like that scene from The Princess Bride where like he's trying to outthink which cup has the poison in it, and he's like just tying himself in knots, and then Terutsuyoshi has his number every time.
Yep.
I mean,
exact same thing.
So Terutsuyoshi is 2-1 against Asanoyama in their career, and the first win for Terutsuyoshi was by Isa Miyashi, and I have no idea what that is. So it seems like Terutsuyoshi knows how to beat Asanoyama. It's just which obscure Kimarite he's going to pull out. So I don't think it's the Asamyamaka has to look for. He has to skim the like least commonly used Kimarite lists to figure out what
Ryan, you want to know what Isa Miyashi is?
Yeah.
A situation in which an attacking Rikishi accidentally steps too far forward and out of the ring, thus his opponent winning.
Okay, so
very
it's like,
obscure Kimarite.
The one where he just
it's a Hiwaza, it's a non-technique like Kakuryu when he slipped and fell on his ass against Endo in the last basho. Endo didn't win by Kimarite. Kakuryu lost by Hiwaza. So that's what happened to Awesome Yamaka there. Okay.
So that was when they both met at the end of 2016 all the way down in Makushita. Their second matchup was Asanoyama winning by Oshi Taoshi in Juryo. And then there was the Ashitori leg lift in just the last tournament here.
All right.
So yeah, they've only faced off like one time in like their modern histories, I guess you'd say. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a matchup I'm going to be watching mainly for the memes, but also because Asanoyama is, I totally agree with you guys, guaranteed to be in the storylines until the very end.
Yeah, that's a must-watch match now. But let's move on to his fellow Ozeki, Takayasu, who has said a few weeks ago that his knee is healed, and that's the knee that forced him to pull out of the tournament conveniently after he got his 8 wins. And actually, big congrats are in order to Takayasu because he got engaged to an absolute dime piece.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you, Takayasu. And I think Fleric, you actually found something where he's been playing Fortnite.
Oh, was that Takayasu? I thought that was someone else.
I think that was Takayasu.
Yeah, it's Takayasu.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, who's Takayasu going to be playing Fortnite with, if not his Sekitori buddy in the Chiganaura stable, Takayasu?
Takayasu is too busy out there picking up babes, so maybe not.
Yeah. No, I read something that apparently Takayasu is watching DVDs of his matches a lot. He's like been watching a lot of tape. So
of his own matches or of Takayasu's matches?
Of his own match. Takayasu's. We're talking about Takayasu, right?
Oh, I thought you said Takayasu.
Takayasu has been watching Takayasu matches. Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I needed that. But Fleric, if Takayasu is actually healed as he claims, do we need to expect 11 plus wins from him like we have seen when he's fully healthy? Or are we more expecting kind of like the last couple of basho where he kind of struggles to get to that Kachikoshi mark, and that's what we expect from him in the future? What are you thinking from an allegedly healed Takakeisho?
Allegedly healed. I like that.
I think you really believe what any of these rikshi say.
No, not at all. That is one thing I've been noticing in my life as a sumo fan. You can take these like training reports as like a grain of salt. Yeah. And how healed they are.
You got to use that meme format where it's from Memento and it's like a picture of every single rikshi and it says, "Don't believe his lies."
Exactly. So yeah, I gotta go with what I've seen the last couple of basho. I gotta go with precedence, and like he's just been kind of barely scraping out like 8 wins, and so I think we're probably gonna get that again, especially since I think I don't have the exact quote. It was like a Kintamiyama news report. He was kind of talking about Takakeisho has been like watching a lot of tape recently and maybe not as like much sumo. Who knows if that's actually every single day or maybe it's just that one single day. But I think it's gonna be another barely 8 wins, and like he might be in the usual race for a while, but I just don't really see him getting an 11 plus win again this basho unless I see some actual concrete evidence that he's healed.
He's got to win you over again, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's got to win me over again.
Yeah, to me, I'm super curious about where that news comes from because, like, I'm picturing him and his like absolutely smoking hot fiance like standing in the heya, and he's like, we're gonna go watch some matches," and then they like head up to his private room for a while.
Well, that's I get you saying there. I saying that that's like how he like wooed her in the first place. Like, dude, check out this really good sumo wrestler. Oh wait, it's me.
Oh man, that guy won the U show. Wow, what a guy.
Yeah. Apparently his fiance is like from a sumo family. Like her dad wasn't like an old-time ozeki and ran a sumo heya. So she's like very much used to like the sumo life in the sumo world. She's very much a part of it. Cool. And so like I bet she's actually probably pretty impressed with some sumo prowess. And she's like, "Oh man, that's pretty cool." That's really hard to do.
Yeah, it can't just be the fact that he's spherical. Like that alone isn't enough.
Oh no. I saw some it was kind of a funny joke. So like someone saying, yeah, I'm trying to get in shape like recently or something. It's like, well, round is a shape. So
Takakeisho is a circle.
He is a circle. He's a very, very shapely rikshi. We'll say that.
Yeah, you're just a line. That's not a shape.
All right. So let's talk about some Sekiwake who hope to join Awesome Yamaka and Takakeisho as Ozeki. And we actually have 3 Sekiwake for the first time since November of 2017, when we have current Sekiwake Mitake Yumi, now retired Yoshikaze, and hopeful future Sekiwake Teru no Fuji. So our 3 guys this time are Mitake Yumi, Shodai, and Daisho. All 3 of them are coming off of 11-win bashos and should all be at least in the beginning stages of an Ozeki run. I think Mitake Yumi had a 10-win record from Maegashira 3. I think he would need to get like 14 wins this time to roll that into an Ozeki run. So I think at least all 3 of them should be in the first leg of an Ozeki run. And so just kind of, I'm going to ask myself this question, like, are any of these going to do good enough to continue their potential Ozeki run? And which one do I think is most likely to drop from that Sekiwake rank? And I think most people would say Daisho at this point. But I actually think it's...
Yes.
Damn, I still...
Yes.
Yes. I think it's Shodai.
Do it.
Of course.
I believe in Daisho a little bit more right now than I believe in Shodai. I feel like he has more of a plan when he gets into the ring. I feel like his pushing thrusting has been really good the past few basho. I mean, he's been hanging around these ranks for a year and a half at this point, so he's had plenty of reps to go against these people. Shodai's gone up against these people plenty of times as well. I just feel like over the past year and a half, Daisho's been more consistent in his record, whereas Shodai's been more up and down. And just kind of looking, I think I think the big thing was how he beat Hakuho, and not only just how he beat Hakuho, but he's beaten Hakuho a couple of times fairly recently. He's won 2 out of his last 4 matches against Hakuho. And so I just have more faith in Daisho. I have the most faith in Mitaki Yumi, as we are still in a summer month. So I think he can keep it rolling.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think Shodai is the least likely to keep this run going. And I still think I'm just stuck on, but it's Shodai.
Yeah, it's Shodai, of course. I'm glad I have converted you to the church of
I
Shodai
don't hate Shodai.
but you're
I-
at least you don't trust him. Or
I think all 3 of these guys could easily get a winning record, and it would probably
Yeah.
predict a winning record for all 3 of these guys. Once again, especially we have to look at this through the lens of no Yokozuna.
exactly.
These are all 3 of these guys are in the top 5 Rikishi in this tournament. So if they're all top 5, that means they could all go 11-4 if they lose to just the other Sekiwake and Ozeki, and continue this run going if they beat everybody ranked below them. So I think all these guys will get a winning record, but I think the one most likely to have a losing record and drop from the Sekiwake rank is Shodai. Jake,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're going to be going with Daisho on this conversation.
Yeah, whatever you say. I'm watching this Dune.
Oh my god, not again. We need you.
I believe in Mitaki Yumi, and it's just which meme fighter between Daisho and Shodai I believe in less. No, at this point I believe in Shodai slightly more just because of his history. Daisho, it's still I need another basho or 2 to really believe that he belongs here, I guess. I don't know. I'd say Daisho is my pick for least likely to stick in this pack.
Yeah, I think the same as you, Ryan. Of where I have no faith in Shodai, but I think you make a kind of a good point, Jake, about that. Because Daisho, he's had a string of 7 and 8s and 8s and 7. He's been around the same rank the whole entire time, but he's just been like, this is the first time we've seen a double digit for looking like since he's in Jurio for the most part. So I guess, but I will say, like, the last basho, I actually started to notice he exists. So he's starting to kind of get there in my head. Like,
I know
where it's
who
like,
he
oh,
is now. Yeah.
exactly. Before, like, I was like, who? But now I kind of know who he is. I'm kind of paying attention to him, and I hope to see good things from him. I think it would be kind of cool.
I mean, Daisho has a winning record against Asanoyama, and he has a winning record against Shodai. He actually didn't face off against Mitaki Yumi in the last basho, so I don't know how he's doing against him. But he has winning records against a lot of the top people that he's.
He is 3 and 8 against Mitaki Yumi.
Okay, so he'll lose that one, but he'll beat the other those other.
But
two guys
what's his recent record though?
Let me take a look here. Let's see. Recently, Mitaki Yumi has won 3 out of the last 4.
Okay, so Mitaki Yumi's pretty good,
and also a lot of them before that. So yeah.
All right, let's talk about our Komosubi, those being Okinoumi and Endo, and then we will turn our eye to Maegashira 1 East. That is
solid transition.
The rocketing up the Bansuke, Teru no Fuji, the winner of the last tournament, our second Maegashira 17 winning this year. He is going to be the top Rikishi in the Maegashira ranks. Jake, what do we expect from the Kaiju coming off of his, I'm going to say, surprise Yusho win there? I don't think anybody really saw that coming. No, that's not true. I remembered because I watched the like the preview show that like John Gunning and the other English commentary guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Murray.
Yeah, Murray. One of those guys on the prediction show actually called it Teru no Fuji Yusho. So didn't surprise everybody, but surprised a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean it's not nearly as shocking as Tokishoryu's Maegashira 17 Yusho. But I think it would be disingenuous for anyone to say that they expected it. Like, sure, you can pick it. You can, like, make a bold prediction and it comes true and you look great, right? But you can't, like, pretend that you expected it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it would be maybe there's a couple like delusional people out there who are like, yeah, of course, it's obviously going to happen, but that's, or regardless, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
But we're not like completely floored the way that we were when Tokushoryu won. So I was looking back at his record here. We've mentioned that in our recap last time, in both our Bansuke episodes about his strength of schedule, but it wasn't really until the last couple days that he faced guys in the upper Bansuke. Not a complete deal breaker. He did beat Asanoyama and Mitaki Yumi. He lost to Shodai. Other than that, he didn't face anyone higher than Maegashira 9 Tamawashi last time. So the strength of schedule is not necessarily something that we can get a ton of information from on like where he actually is versus where he sometimes people will overperform because they had an easy schedule. But I think that his schedule is more indicative than it first appears. Tochinoshin, Tamawashi, he actually lost to Takayasu, but all three of those guys finished 10-5. He also beat Wakataka Kage, who finished 10-5. And some of those guys are now all the way up in the Joy with him. So his strength of schedule isn't terrible from last time when he got that 13-2. So a lot of the indicators I would use to say like, oh, he's going up to M1, he's going to get destroyed. A lot of those indicators that we might use like with Tokushoryu, not necessarily the same situation. I think he's going to do okay. And a big part of that is being that there is a lot of that same competition. There's a lot of guys that he's already beat that I think he can definitely beat again, or at least have a solid chance to. The one thing that I do see based on rank that is working against him, being a Maegashira 1, he is likely to face the Ozeki and the Yokozunas early. And if there are injuries, like let's say Hakuho or Kakuryu do start the tournament, they're going to be facing off against guys around Terunofuji's rank right away. So even if they are injured and they don't stick around, it's still, if Hakuho enters, Terunofuji's probably going to have to face him. And that's going to be a tough one.
And that's going to be hype as hell.
Yeah, it is.
AF. But it's still a worrying thing for Terunofuji. It's still another loss that somebody like Awesome Yamaka is not going to have to worry about any Yokozuna unless they're truly healthy and they last till the end of the tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. My expectation, I would say, is somewhere between like 9 and 12 wins. I would be surprised if he did
That's
very
a 4-win
poorly.
range. Tighten that up.
Okay, 10 or 11 wins.
Okay.
10 and a half would be where I'd put my over under. I think he's still like, he's shown that he's healthy enough that he's going to do great. Great relative to the division as a whole, sure, but great as in Yusho race, I'm cautiously optimistic. So yeah, I'd put the over under at like 10 and a half or so on Terunofuji.
Yeah. Would you put Awesome Yamaka or Terunofuji as the favorite for the basho?
Asanoyama for sure.
Okay.
Not by a huge margin, but definitely by what I think I would call a confident margin. I don't know. I wouldn't disagree with putting Terunofuji in the top tier of potential Yusho winners, especially considering that it sounds like we're all on the same page that both Yokozuna are extremely unlikely to be in that race. So I don't know. I definitely put Awesome Yamaka ahead of him, but
yeah,
I do think that Terunofuji is going to have a Kachikoshi, and it's not going to be like an 8 and 7. I think he'll get a couple extra wins on that.
Yeah, I am actually going to be looking forward to the rematch of Asanoyama and Terunofuji, because I think that looked pretty handily Terunofuji favored. So I want to see if like that will happen, like whether or not Terunofuji has Asanoyama's number, or maybe just Asanoyama wasn't expecting it and he adjusts well and can take him down next time.
It was the only time they've ever fought. Terunofuji was already on his way down by the time Asanoyama was on his way to the top of the Bansuke.
So yeah, I can't wait.
I've got a little bit of fear for Terunofuji, just for his injuries kind of coming back on him. I mean, he's been fighting in back-to-back basho, because he did like the 2 back-to-back Juryo bashos where he got, I think, 13 wins and 10 wins. But his Yusho came after a 4-month layoff, so he had plenty of time to rest up. And then this basho is actually going to be occurring like with a 2-week less break than there usually is. So I kind of worry about maybe his injuries kind of creeping back up on him. But I do think he'll be able to finish this tournament. And the number kind of in my head that I think is I think he can get 10-5 pretty easily. I don't see more than 5 losses on the schedule for him. I mean, he can lose to Asanoyama easily. He's already lost to Shodai. He could lose to Mitaki Yumi. And then maybe like a Hokuto Fuji or Endo can be Trixie sometimes. So I think there's 5 losses on there that you can find. Not too many more than that, though. But then I'm also thinking, like, okay, Asanoyama is my favorite to win the Yusho. And then I probably have like Mitaki Yumi in there. And then probably the third name I would say is Teruno Fuji. So I don't know. I think I'm going to say his floor, if healthy and completing the tournament, is 10 wins. That's a big if for a big man. But I'm going to say his floor, if he completes the entire tournament, is 10 wins.
I see we have another Meisei denialist.
Who?
What do you mean? Meisei is like Maegashira 13. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. Whatever. I was trying to find like the least notable name I could find. Damn it. Sadano Umi was right there, but he's so unnotable, I don't even think of him as being unnotable.
Okay. For somebody that would think of to win the Yusho.
Yeah. Whatever.
You were like a minute.
It's much
or two
funnier
too
now
late
that we
for
have to
joke.
dissect the joke.
All right. Let's. We've already talked about Tadetsu Yoshi a little bit. He's going to be up in the Joy for the first time in his career. Just curious. Over under 1.5 Ashitori wins, because we know he got the one against Awesome Yamaka. He tried again against Kota Waco. I think he had an earlier Ashitori win in that tournament, and that's an odd win to have at least 2 wins and 3 attempts for in a basho, because it's not very often used. So, Jake, over under 1.5 Ashitori wins for Tadetsu Yoshi this basho.
Under 1.5 Ashitori wins, way over 1.5 Ashitori attempts.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I think people saw him do it. They saw it was awesome, and they're probably actually all been practicing that between bashos. So, but I think when they face him, the first thing they're gonna think of is Ashitori. Actually, they're gonna think of, wow, that's lost salt.
Yeah.
Salt. And then they're going, oh wait, he's probably gonna try to grab my leg. Let's stop that. Except Awesome Yamaka, who's gonna get into his own mind game of what he's gonna do. And he's probably going to fall victim.
Yep.
Oh, it's probably going to be a massive Henka by Tadetsu Yoshi against Asanoyama. Another guy who is at his career high this tournament and in the Joy is Takayasu. He eked out an 8-7 record last time. I'm kind of thinking he'll probably be in that same range again. The lack of the Yokozuna is really helping out his record here, I think. And I'm not really scared of most of the rest of the Joy, like Tamawashi and Miyugiryu. They're old and past their prime, and they had good records last time, but that's because they were Maegashira 9 and 10 last time. Tadetsu Yoshi, I'm not really scared of. Teruno Fuji, I'm scared of, and Hokuto Fuji is absolutely... Sorry, Hokuto Fuji is the favorite to win the Yusho. Let me make that clear. But yeah, I don't think there's too many names for Takayasu to be afraid of here. I think he can easily get another 8-7, maybe 9-6 record. Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be a big fall off for him, if any.
Yeah, I looked up the quote of the Kitamiyama newsreel that talked about Takayasu, which had the Takayasu info, and I must correct myself. I think Takayasu is the one who's been kind of watching DVDs of his bouts and stuff. Maybe not Takayasu. But the news said he thinks he feels good, obviously, and he had a few bouts against Takayasu, and he think I won 3 or 4 of them. So how many bouts he had, who knows? But apparently he's been like being able to push back Takayasu, and that's been giving him some confidence. So I guess, granted, you take this with a boulder of salt, however you want to do it.
A Tadetsu Yoshi fist size of salt.
Exactly, yes. But I think he seems to be he's at least doing well against Takayasu. And Takayasu might be doing better than I thought previously because I can't read.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So last time we had 4 from former Ozeki in the Maegashira ranks, and we still have 4 former Ozeki in the Maegashira ranks. All of them got Kachikoshi last time, but all of them, instead of being double-digit Maegashira, they are all ranked. Well, no, Koto Shogaku is still a double-digit Maegashira, but Takayasu's Maegashira 6, Tochinoshin is Maegashira 4, Terunofuji is Maegashira 1. So I just want to go through these 4 guys real quick, and we'll give our opinion on if we think they will get another Kachikoshi to continue their runs back up the Bansuke. So Fleric, Terunofuji, Kachikoshi?
Jake said best. It's definitely going to be Kachikoshi.
All right. Tochinoshin, for me, I think this is too big of a jump for him. I do worry about the strength of the competitors around him. His schedule last time was mostly against double-digit Maegashira. He only had 2 wins against single-digit Maegashira, that being against Ishiura and a miracle win against Hokuto Fuji. I think the strength of the schedule is going to be too much for him, and he's going to have like a 7-8, 6-9 record this time. Jake, what about Takayasu?
Yeah, you definitely had the hardest one there. Takayasu, I think this one is an easy pick to say Kachikoshi, even if it's not a huge one, because Takayasu is sitting pretty just outside the Joy. Even with a couple injuries, he's still going to have a relatively easy mid Maegashira strength of schedule. And if he shows the health that he showed in the last tournament, I think he is. I would say he is a pretty safe pick to get between 8 and 10 wins again.
Yeah, and Tochinoshin should be pointed out. He is technically right now outside of the Joy, but even if one of Hakuho or Kakuryu pull out of the tournament, he will be in that top 16 and have to face that full Sanyaku schedule.
Bingo.
So I do expect him.
A huge barrier to be on one side or the other of. And Tochinoshin is not in as good a position as Takayasu.
Yes. And Fleric, what do we think about Maegashira 11 Koto Shogiku?
I think it's going to be an MK. Makikoshi is going to be a losing record. The Tachi I saw from him last basho, I just don't like at all. It just makes no sense at all. And I think he's just, I don't know. I think he's just kind of on a much slower, he's more so on the decline. I think he's going to see that again.
Yeah, that weird pose where he looked like a giraffe trying to drink at the water hole.
Yeah.
It was so weird looking and so like completely sudden that he switched from one way all the way to the other. It was really weird.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to probably the most important question in this entire Bansuke. And it comes to the matter of my heart. We all know Hokuto Fuji is my boy. He's my guy forever and always, but he's not going to be around for forever. I need a solid number 2, and he needs to be a young fella.
We could all use a solid number 2, Ryan.
Oh, God. I wish I dealt with solid number 2s. All of Riley's are just so liquidy and gross.
Oh, dear.
They're just awful. But once Hokuto Fuji retires, I need another guy that is going to take his place. And I have 3 contenders that are at the bottom ranks of the Maegashira right now. Those being Wakataka Kage, Koto Shoho, and newly promoted to the Maegashira ranks, Hoshuryu. So Fleric, I ask you, as the man who probably knows my heart the best, the man I lived with for 4.5 years in college, who should I choose as my backup once Hokuto Fuji retires to become my favorite Rikishi in all of sumo?
Oh, this is going to be a tough one. So we have Koto Shoho, the newcomer that looked so good until he wasn't looking so good.
Mm-hmm.
We have Wakataka Kage, who's just fun to say, and you do love names that are fun to say.
Oh, I love him so much.
And then we have the one who's in everyone's heart, Hoshuryu. That'll be interesting, but that's probably too mainstream for you. I'm going to take Hoshuryu off of it.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be down to Koto Shoho and Wakataka Kage, which is pretty fun. Pretty fun. This one's going to be tough because I think he has a superior name, but I think you love someone when they're kind of first starting out. That way you can kind of say you love them the whole entire time. I think you should put your love and all your money in Koto Shoho hype train. You should start the fan club now. Make those lunch boxes. Let's get this number 2 love going, Ryan.
Pick him for the prediction series too.
You know what? Koto Shoho in its own right is a very fun name to say. It's got the same thing as Wakataka Kage, where it's the same vowel over and over again. The consonant part isn't as fun, but Koto Shoho is still a very fun name to say. So I'll take that for a spin. I'll make Koto Shoho my second favorite guy this tournament. Wakataka Kage will be my number 3, and Hoshuryu will be my number 4. But yeah, I'll see how that feels for this tournament. I'll take that for a spin, Fleric, and I'll report in after the basho to let you know how it feels. And honestly, how it feels is largely going to be dependent on how he does. Shocking,
Yeah.
I know.
Shocking. But it hasn't stopped you with Hokuto Fuji though, so I think there's potential.
That's true. Once you have truly latched onto my heart, you can do no wrong. You will always be in there.
Like a baby upon a boob. Once you're latched on.
Well, unless the baby falls asleep at the boob, and then you have to like blow raspberries on its forehead to wake up because you know it's not done eating, and the second you put it down in its crib, it's gonna be like, "But I'm hungry," and then we're like, "Why did you fall asleep on the boob? You should have just kept eating."
This is exactly what my wife has to deal with when I'm drinking whiskey and we order pizza on the same night.
Wake up. You know you want more whiskey and pizza.
I'm going to blow raspberries onto you until you finish your pizza and go to bed.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. Move on.
I don't know either.
Okay. Abi is ranked Maegashira 14, but he will not be participating, so good riddance to Abi. And we kind of talked about this on our Bansuke review episode, but Ichinojo is back in the Maegashira ranks. Kind of a controversial decision to way over promote him to bring him up into these ranks after a 9-6 record from Juryo 6. But he is here, and do we think Ichinojo going up against a weak schedule very similar to Teruno Fuji? I mean, we know Ichinojo, he's gone 14-1 in the past. He's gone 13-2 in the past. Could we have our third Maegashira 17 Yusho this year?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. I think there's a good chance he might do well though. I think so. I haven't watched many of his matches down in Juryo, so I can't tell if like he's like Snorlax like sleeping, or if like someone played the poke flute before his matches.
I mean, he did go 9-6 from Juryo 6 last time.
Yeah. So
Juryo 5.
Yeah. So
was it Juryo 5?
Yep, 5 West. But yeah, only 9 wins from there. Come on, man.
Yeah. So probably not.
Yeah, and I did watch his Juryo matches, and there was a lot of the sleepy Ichinojo that we've seen. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of faith in him. I mean, there's not a lot of scary names around him. You'd have to go up to, I don't know. I'm going to predict like double digits for Ichinojo this time. But then again, he was down at Juryo and only got 9. I hate Ichinojo. He should be so much better than he is. Let's talk about a couple of guys making their Makuuchi debut this tournament. Up first, we have Toby Zaru at Maegashira 14 East. He is 28 years old. This will be his 35th basho. So he joined Sumo in the Hatsu basho of 2015 at 22 years old. He actually spent his first 15 basho below the ranks of Juryo with the Shikona Iwasaki. And then his past 14 straight basho have all been in Juryo. His worst record in those 14 basho is 6-9, and his best record is 10-5. So not really having too many extremes one way or the other. Just kind of been very steady, working his way up the Juryo ranks to finally crack the Makuuchi division. And then we also have Hoshuryu, a guy in the battle for my heart, a guy we've been talking about since his Maizumo debut. He is ranked Maegashira 16 West. He is 21 years old. This is only his 17th basho. He joined Maizumo in Kyushu of 2017 at 18 years old, the second ever basho of Grand Sumo Breakdown coverage. He's had 2 losing records in his career, one in Makushita at 3-4, and one in Juryo at 7-8. And he's only spent 4 basho in Juryo, going 7-8, 8-7, 8-7, and 10-5 in those tournaments. So very excited to see Hoshuryu up in the top division, see what he can do. Yeah, it's just going to be nice to be able to watch all of his matches at the top level after we've been talking about him for almost 3 years at this point.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, when we're talking about people we've been watching from the beginning, this is legit someone we've been watching from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It'll be nice once a guy like Naya comes up. And it's the same with Enho. Like we were following Enho pretty much from the beginning of his career, but we still have like Naya coming up. The former, it was like Moto Bayama or whatever. He changed his Shikona to Hoshuryu. He's the most recent guy that won like his first 3 U show and started off like 21-0 in his career. But he's at the top of the Makushita ranking. So there's a few guys coming up the ranks that we've kind of been keeping our eye on that hopefully we'll see up in the Makuuchi division before too long.
Hey, a couple points on technique for these guys. Hoshuryu has a lot of the typical like Mongolian flags. When you look at his technique profile, he's got a lot of arm throws, including shitate nage. The underarm throw is his second most common technique after yorikiri. That's similar to like Hakuho, who has uwate nage as one of his top techniques. So yeah, he's a big guy on throws. Obviously, he does a lot of yorikiri and oshidashi because that's how you normally win sumo matches. But still, he's heavier on the throws. Toby Zaru, though, has a bit more of a history, which means that I can do a little bit more in-depth dive on the numbers, and it's pretty shocking, actually. He is the most pulling-focused wrestler I have ever analyzed. A full quarter of every single win he's ever gotten in sumo has been by Hitaki Komi.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and if you add Hitaki Komi, Hiki Otoshi, Tsuki Otoshi, like these kind of like sloppy / pulling techniques together, fully half of his wins.
Wow.
I think that that kind of indicates that we're in for seeing some exciting and sloppy and weird matches from him. So that should be fun.
I love it. Yeah, Toby Zaru, I read something that his Chikona translates to flying monkey. I'm not sure if we mentioned that yet this episode, but that's just an amazing name. And apparently, like there's been a lot of foreign fans that also love it. So apparently, like a lot of people have been kind of writing him like messages, and he's saying like I'm very excited about how many people just love me, and like I'm trying to learn English now too, so I can respond to my foreign fans. So it's he seems, I don't know, I'm kind of hyped up on him. I want him to do well because he seems like he could be a fun person to kind of root for.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see his style. And I just looked at like his last tournament just to see if that kind of held true with what Jake was saying. And like, yeah, it was at least 3 or 4 Hitaki Komi, a Hikitoshi thrown in for his win. So yeah, a good half of his wins by those pulling techniques. Let's talk about small little Juryo note real quick. Kiza Kiyumi has retired. He was a Juryo Rikishi that landed on his head a few basho ago. One of those situations we pointed out, like, hey, wouldn't it be really nice if you had medical personnel at the side of the ring so that these people could get the immediate help that they needed? And it does seem that injury is directly what led to his retirement, because he is retiring due to chronic neck pain, and he is seeking a hospital and a way to full recovery, which he couldn't do while he was an active Rikishi. So Kiza Kiyumi is only 25 years old. He actually got a Sandanme Tsukedashi, so he started off his career in the Sandanme ranks. Had been in Juryo for, it looks like, the past year, and then he had that awful thing where he landed on his head, hurt his neck, but he just like stayed in for the rest of the tournament. Did not look good, and obviously that neck pain has stuck with him, and he has retired from sumo. I usually ask this and forgot to do so a little bit sooner, but is there anybody else in the Makuuchi division that we wanted to touch on before we took a quick break and got to some of our more fun segments?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good too.
All right. So with that, we will take a quick break, and we'll be back with the GSB belt and our prediction series. Let's get right into our prediction series. And it looks like Jake, being the loser of the last tournament, loser of, I believe, 3 out of the last
We don't
4
have to talk
tournaments.
about it. We don't have to talk about how much you've been losing recently.
I would like to point out, you are now actually tied with Mac as the most losingest GSB co-host
I
on
didn't want to talk about it.
this podcast. Like, we always rag on Mac because he's lost 6 times, but now Jake has also lost 6 times, and Mac hasn't actually lost in a year and a half.
What?
Proving that I have been the more consistent one recently. Okay.
I don't think that's
I
a
get it,
stat
I
you want to
suck.
brag about.
But for our champ and chump picks, we are going to have a special guest to fill in for Mac. And this is a guest that is so special that she's only going to say 2 words on the entire podcast. My wife, Katie, friend of the show, don't say anything because I said 2 words, don't use them up yet, is going to fill in for Mac. Mac texted her. She's trying not to laugh on microphone. Mac texted Katie his picks so that none of the 3 of us would know who he's picking, so that Katie can read off his picks as we go through our champ and chump prediction series.
Okay, I guess that sounds fair. We will allow it.
So yeah, the order for the picks for the champ is Jake, obviously, because he sucks at this and lost. And then it will be me because I heroically came in second to last place last time. And then it will be Mac because he dastardly came in second place last time. And then it will be our three-time defending champion, Fleric, making the final champ pick.
I'm doing shadow boxing right now to show my boxing speed as a 3-peat champion.
It carries over very well into an audio format.
Yeah.
I know, that's why I had to mention it. It's so much better.
All right, Jake, don't leave us in anticipation any further. Who will be your champ?
I've already said it. I get the first pick, so I might as well pick who I think is the most likely to win. Asanoyama.
Ichinojo.
Oh.
Sorry, Awesome Yamaka.
All right, that makes me the next pick, and it's down to Terano Fuji or Mitake Yumi for me. Takayasu a dark horse, but I think I'm gonna ride him for the second straight tournament and make Mitake Yumi my champ for this basho.
It's been kind of chilly out recently, Ryan. Have you thought about this?
It's been chilly in Iowa. Have you checked Tokyo?
I have not.
And there's no reason to. Okay, so using up one of her 2 words on this podcast, Katie, please join us and tell us who Mac picks.
Terano Fuji.
All right.
Oh my.
Jake, I'm typing it in. Get away.
I typed it first. Get off my turf.
That was entertaining to watch in the Google Doc.
I deleted his, not mine.
Drats.
Yeah. All right. So I guess my champ, the one who I think is going to do better than not, I think I have to stick to what I've said before. And I'm starting to notice you. You better not pull Shodai on me, but we're going to pick Daisho.
Ooh. All right. That's probably a first on this podcast. Somebody choosing Daisho to be their champ.
Or otherwise.
Yeah. And the fans have also selected Asanoyama to be their champ. So we move on to the chump selection, and we do a snake draft style. So Fleric will have the first selection for the chump.
All right. Can I pick Abi, Kakuryu, and Hakuho?
No. Oh,
What?
Okay, so you can't pick Abi. We know he's gone. I think in the spirit, you would be choosing Hakuho or Kakuryu because you believe they would not be entering the tournament. Jake, I say we can't allow that.
I believe our rules are he would be able to change once they are officially Kyujo, but he would have to pick somebody else. So effectively, Flair.
So if they entered, he's stuck with them.
Yes.
But he has to change his pick if they do.
Well,
if they pull out before the basho starts, I have to pick someone else. But if they start a basho, they start a match, I think technically I would be stuck with them. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah, but let's say Hakuho enters and goes 0-1, and then pulls out. Does Flair get credit for those other 14 days? Because I think those would just be gone.
I think we had discussed maybe you have to select somebody new, but I don't think the situation has actually come up I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've had
This
somebody.
feels like gaming the system too much to me, and I don't want to allow it.
I'm not gonna pick him. Don't worry about that. It was mostly
Then
for
don't
the
make us
joke.
talk about it for 2 minutes.
No, I'm gonna have to think about. Okay, I said I was gonna do a gut choice between my number 1, my number 2. Oh, it's gonna be rough.
Katie's just sitting there wondering what the hell's taking so long.
She's very confused. She doesn't have a set of headphones.
All right, I think he's. Yeah, well, let me just double check. I got the name right. Yeah, I think he's gonna try it so many times, but everyone's gonna have his number. Tsuyoshi is going to be my jump.
All right.
Okay, so that means that we are now having Katie back for her second and final word of this entire podcast, picking Max Chump.
Hakuho, you can't tell me what to do.
Yes, we can. No.
That was too many words, so you're fired anyways. But get back here. Come back. Come sit back down.
Yeah.
Who else did he have
Tell
on his
Mac we
list
can
after
tell him
that?
what to do.
I don't know. I think technically the words is he's not out yet. I think we can. My personal vote, and I might be outvoted, is like I think he can pick Hakuho and see how
Did
it
he
goes.
have anybody else on the list, Katie? Jake, tell her
Is there anyone
that I
else
said
on the
that.
list, Katie, after Hakuho?
Yeah, Kakuryu.
God damn it,
Is
Mac.
there anyone out on the list after Kakuryu?
Abi.
Okinoumi.
There you go. There's a legit pick.
right.
Okinoumi. All right. You have far overstayed your welcome. I'm pretty sure you've said like 7 or 8 words now. Yeah, go back to the kitchen and finish cooking my dinner. Which it could be a sexist joke, but it was literally what she was doing. So I don't know if it still counts as sexism.
All right. So that leaves me with a very tough decision because even if I had the first pick, I have no idea where I'm going with this.
Yeah, this is a weird one for chump picking.
I probably would have gone with Tsuyoshi. I have one other guy that I've been thinking of, but so I'm thinking of Toby Zaru because I just haven't been overly impressed with like his records in Juryo. Not that I've really watched him, and he has a pulling technique, which doesn't really give me a whole lot of faith that he's going to do well. But it seems like no matter what, if you're making your Makuuchi debut, you get a winning record. Like that's just
At least 10 wins, maybe a Yusho.
that's just what's been happening for like the past year and a half. So I can't in good conscience choose Toby Zaru. Oh, fudge. I'm going to say he is in the Joy again after a 5-10 record last time. So I am going to say Yu Takayama.
I have never heard such waffling.
This one's hard.
Bravo.
All right.
To be
your
fair, though,
choice.
I'm just stalling for time because I don't really know who I wanted to pick. Okinoumi was really like the only one that I was like, yeah, I'd pick him if he was still available. Toby Zaru and Hoshuryu are both awfully tempting because it's a debut in the division. Hoshuryu did great, but from like the middle of Juryo, and it's the very first time he's ever been into my. Yeah, I'm convincing myself. I got to pick Hoshuryu.
Why not
for
Toby
the-
Zaru?
Because Hoshuryu came a lot larger of a jump. He came from Juryo 6, and he has much less experience with the 15-day schedule, much less experience this high up. And you know what? If I'm going to be the worst ever on this podcast, I got to take some risks to try and not be. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm picking Hoshuryu.
That pick is cursed, my friend.
Yeah.
That's a make or break pick. He could go like 2-13 from there, or vice versa.
Yeah.
All right.
But
I
you've
already hate it.
But you've definitely cursed yourself of the Fleric favor of Hoshuryu to have a bad starting record during a basho. You are dead to me, good
Well,
sir.
like I said, it's a sadness hedge, as I brought up on the Bansuke episode. Either he does very poorly, hooray, I got a good pick, or he does very well, and it's like, hooray, Hoshuryu did well, but crap, but then I have to do a punishment. Sadness hedge works differently on this episode.
So for the fans' choice, we didn't really have too many champ chump selections from the fans this time. So it's a tie between either Shima no Umi or Toby Zaru for their chump. I have a coin flipper pulled up on my browser. So heads, Shima no Umi is their chump. Tails, Toby Zaru is. I am flipping the coin, and the coin comes up tails. So it is Toby Zaru for our fans' chump.
I think the
Okay.
fans are dead to me too.
All right. Jake, as you are still the only person in possession of the Bowl-O punishments, and you are the rightful selector from the Bowl-O punishments, let us know what our punishment will be.
Okay, here we go. Oh, by the way, the actual Bowl-O punishments was just like a piece of plastic cookware that has now found its way to the garbage. So it is now the here we go, the souvenir Takayasu teacup of punishments and podcast petty cash. And we are drawing. Oh dear. We put this one in a couple basho ago, hoping it would never be drawn.
As we do with all of them.
Yeah. This is yes, exactly. This is the double punishment. This is the rap battle punishment.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
It had to happen eventually. There's only so many things in here besides cash.
No.
So-
Yeah, the punishment is a $5 bill. Oh yeah.
$5. Okay, well, I'm glad I picked Hoshuryu then.
Mhm.
No, so the rap battle, the rules for this one, the short version is it's going to be third place versus fourth place. And then the people who come in first and second place get to basically pick their team and like be the hype man. So it's going to be a 4-man punishment, but really only third and fourth place have to fully debase themselves.
Yeah, it's going to get real white on this podcast real quick.
Oh hell yeah. If you are sensitive to racial issues, avoid our recap. It's going to be uncomfortable.
What are you implying?
I'm saying that Flarrick's very racist. I don't know what you mean. Have you ever heard him rap? Oh my god, it's awful.
Mhm.
Fair enough. All right, Jake, why don't you give us a quick update on where the GSB belt lies for anybody who has forgotten since the end of the July basho?
We had the 17 times.
No.
Okay, sorry. Ura had the belt for a long ass time. But in the last basho, we finally had some movement. It went to Shonan no Umi, Ichi Yamamoto, and then ultimately to Chiyono Kuni, the Makushita Yusho winner, who is now in Juryo.
All right.
So this belt is making its progress up the ranks. Started at the beginning of November of 2019. So we still have an entire another basho before we hit a full year. So this belt could make its way to the top real quick. Chiyono Kuni, if he wins out, obviously the belt would carry with him. But much more likely, whoever beats Chiyono Kuni is going to carry the belt with them up the rankings and so forth. You know, you got to beat the man to be the man. And let's see how long it takes for the GSB belt to reach the Yokozuna ranks.
All right. With that being said, Jake, why don't you kick us off for what we are most excited for this tournament?
Other than the inevitable PR disaster that is Flarrick's racist rap battle, I would.
We got to pray for another Flarrick win now so we can stay on the air.
This is the new meme: is that Flarrick has a questionable history of racism.
Mhm.
I'm sure he appreciates you saying that over and over again.
Yeah.
Yes,
you better prepare that censor button like the whole entire time.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I continue to repeat
Incredibly racist raps.
yeah. I mean, I'm just going to keep saying that Flarrick has a history of racism over and over again. I mean, just the simple rumor that Flarrick has a history of racism is just saying it enough times makes it true, as far as I'm aware. So regardless of Flarrick's history of racism, what I am most excited for is to see our former Ozeki. I really think that the Yokozuna are unlikely to be there, and it's going to be a bit of a free-for-all. So we got some nostalgia names like Terano Fuji, Tochinoshin, and Takayasu near-ish to the top. I'm kind of excited for that for just pure nostalgia for me.
I'm going to say I'm most excited for not nostalgia, the present and the future. Terano Fuji's continued rise back up the Bansuke to take the rank that he ultimately deserves, which is Ozeki. Very excited to see how he continues that. There's also second place for the 3 Sekiwake at the beginning stretches of Ozeki runs. And then, of course, the battle for my heart between Kodo Shoho, Wakataka Kage, and Hoshuryu. And I will also say for Mac, because I'm assuming the thing he is most excited for is the prospect of Asanoyama being the top guy in the basho, seeing how he handles the pressure and seeing if he can come away with his second career Yusho. Fleric, what about you?
Yeah, other than seeing how my history of racism is going to, whether that or maybe Jake's history of overt sexism towards his wife, which one will kick us off the podcast first?
I can live with that.
He only let his wife speak twice on this episode.
I know. And then he said,
he yelled at her when she dared to say more.
I know. It's it's just a crazy, crazy history that just
it's really
he just tries to run away from.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
The other thing I guess I'm most excited for is the argument over which is worse, racism or sexism.
That sounds like a fun debate.
Yeah, I'll let you two have that while I sit on my pedestal.
All right. No, back to Sumo after that discussion of Jake's just overt sexism.
Yeah, after we're done discussing Fleric's history of racism.
Jake is sexist. Okay, we have probably Asanoyama, whether or not he's going to get his first Yusho. Or not first Yusho, but he's going to get those Yushos with a double, hopefully 2 in a row to get that Yokozuna. Everyone is waiting for it. Everyone wants it. I just kind of want to see it. And whether or not he starts this basho, I think I'm just going to be really excited. Secondary, probably Hoshuryu. I want him to do well. I want him to get his 10 plus. And
I want him to make. I want him to just make Jake rue the day he dared select Hoshuryu as his chump.
Yes.
There must be something wrong with me that wants to do punishments.
Well, with the picks you've been doing, it's kind of like, yeah, you should pick better.
Asanoyama was a decent pick, but
I was gonna actually say I looked at your picks and I'm like, oh wait, no, that's a solid choice.
Yeah, you should have gone in strong with the Miyagi-Ryu champ.
Yeah, you're right. I should have picked with my heart and picked the guy who I constantly forget as a human.
You know, it's not too late for you to change your pick. If you want to go Miyagi-Ryu for your champ, I'll allow it.
I'll stay.
All right. Let's wrap this up with first me saying, as far as I know, Fleric has no history of racism and Jake has no history of sexism.
Why do you say these things like we have a legal team that's like advising us? Like you don't have an earpiece with like a producer.
I just want to make sure that people aren't taking, I don't know why they would. I just want to make extra sure that nobody's like, wow, those GSB guys suck. Especially maybe Fleric.
Yeah, somebody listened like an hour and a half into an episode before any sort of accusations came up. But now I'm going to start taking them seriously. Forget that 15-minute Dune tangent, but this racism joke.
I'm just in today's environment.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not racism. Fleric's racism.
All right, the tournament starts Sunday, September 13th, and will end Sunday, September 27th. If you enjoy this podcast and do not condone racism, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
If you do condone racism...
No!
All right, you can find us on social media. We got Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Search for Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Our blog is grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.racism.com. No! Send us emails at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.racism. And if you feel like leaving us a voicemail that we'll play on the show, give a call to 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-Fleric's Racist.
No, we love everybody, no matter their race, nationality, or creed. Black Lives Matter. We fully support that movement. We don't talk about it a whole lot, but damn it, now I feel like I have to.
Yes, my joke has succeeded. We finally admitted political opinions.
Yeah. So please don't take anything Jake said seriously. And hopefully we'll see you on our midway episode if we don't get canceled.
Especially do not take anything Fleric raps about seriously.
Jesus, just end this.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.